Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of February. I hope you're well. I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you for sticking around. I know I was gone a little longer than I indicated I would be. But actually I was really tired and I didn't notice that until I stopped moving. And then when I felt inclined to start moving again, all sorts of real life things happened that required my attention. You know how it goes. So, yes, thank you. I appreciate you staying with me, and I appreciate you. So, all's good. If you're interested in it, there will be an extended at the end of this video. The link will be down in the description box, so you can just hop over to Vimeo. Oh, and also I've done a 2021 overview for each of the signs. It is for the first 6 months because I don't actually like reading any further ahead than that. I think there are too many variables at play for that. So I've done from January to June. If that's something that you're interested in, there is also a link down in the description box to that. And, you know, while we're here, let's point out that if you are a patron on the higher tier, and there are only two, that you get access to all of that included in the tier price, so works out cheaper actually. Anyway, let's have a look and see what the cards have to say about you using the Lost Forest deck today. Can I have 3 cards for Leo, please? 3 cards for Leo. Oh, fucking hell. In your recent past, we have the King, Queen. We have the Queen of Swords. Present energy for Leo. Oh, 2 of Swords. That's interesting. Okay, and what's coming towards Leo, please? 6 of Cups. Ooh. We are in Mercury retrograde after all, so it's interesting that a card of the past should be popping up here as it is. We've got the Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Now that is strictly Aries, but it can well indicate. Ooh. Look at all these queens we've got here, Leo. That's interesting. So we've got, you know, the Wand Queen here, the Fire Queen. A feminine presentation of fire energy. We also have the Queen of Cups underneath here. And we have that Queen of Swords down there. That is interesting. We'll come back to that because I'm sure the reason why it is there will become relevant and obvious very soon. We'll just find a clarifying deck. And we're going with the Triple Goddess. I love this deck so much. Right, let's give that a shuffle too. And there's the Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. So could I have some cards for the Queen of Swords, please? Why is she here? We have the Lovers and we have the Tower. Interesting combination, right? 2 of Swords. Why is that here? We have the Page of Wands. There's the one. And the Magician. Oh, I like this very much. Let's get those cards that have cluttered around. Put those back in there. And why is the 6 of Cups here, please? We have the 6 of Wands. And we have the Queen of Swords again. Interesting. She is the first and last card here on the table. So at the bottom of this deck, we have the 10 of Wands, which is very interesting. Because we literally just had the full moon in Leo. Now, I'm not sure if this was a Leo collective thing or whether this was just a me thing, but I have to say that from actually slightly before Christmas, and perhaps even from around the time of the conjunction, I felt like my energy was just bleeding out, and I don't know where it was going, but it certainly wasn't here where I could use it. And January, or 76 months of it, as it felt, was hard. It was like trudging through mud, like ankle deep, knee deep through mud, right? And my perception of time went all a little bit awry. Anyway, that's not weird for me. That's a usual thing, but it is also a January thing as well. But it seemed even more intense than usual, and it was only on the build up to the full moon in Leo, maybe about 2 days beforehand, that I suddenly started feeling like something was coming back, some energy was coming back that I was able to utilize moving forwards. Now this I find interesting because of what we've got down here. We have this Queen of Swords, and she does very much feel to me like the expression of the energy that I felt when it flipped from that awful knee-deep mud that I was trudging through to sudden realization that actually this wasn't going to change all in, you know, in and of itself. There we go, I completely forgot the phrase there for a second. It needed my input here somewhere, right? The Queen of Swords is that very intelligent energy of knowing that you know, we are in control of our own minds and stuff like that. But it felt like a sudden kind of insight where my brain just sort of suddenly came out of a fog and went, well, you're not going to go anywhere unless you actually do something about this energy levels that you've got. And for me, right, the gyms have been shut for fucking ever here in the UK, so I haven't been able to go and kick a bag, which is actually one of my simple pleasures in life. I like nothing more than to kick a bag repeatedly for, you know, an hour. I haven't been encouraging that vital energy that is so much a part of the Leo experience, right? The moving our bodies is really, really important. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of personal readings. I've spent an awful lot of time sat here on this stool. I wasn't moving. So moving became then a priority. I had to move around, I had to do things. But ultimately, the whole thing, the whole experience was me actually neglecting my own needs in a lot of ways, right? But also neglecting to pay proper observation to the fact that I control all of these things. We're subject to the will of the universe in some ways, and the planets start moving around and doing things. And I know Mars has been in some has been causing some tension. I can't remember quite off the top of my head. I think it's something to do with Uranus, but it was Uranus. Sorry, it's been forming a square with lots of other things, and I think that perhaps might have contributed to the energy. But see how here we have this the Lover's card and the Tower there. The Lover's card talks about the act of conscious co-creation. It talks about that point where we step up and we make decisions about our lives, right? Actually, often it doesn't really matter what thing we pick, one way or another. It's about actually doing it in the first place. And the Tower card here seems to indicate that sudden realization that we are not doing those things. So we kind of slid into a much more sedentary way of being, both intellectually, physically, and spiritually. Right, give me some more cards for the Lovers and the Tower, please. Yeah. Eight of Swords, absolutely keeping ourselves trapped, or not even realizing that we were, you know, keeping ourselves in that way, not doing anything about that energy. I've got the Ten of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, like I've got the Justice card at the bottom of the deck too, right? That's Libra energy, just as the Queen of Swords is. It's about that imbalance. Somewhere there was an imbalance, and it feels like you became aware of that. Maybe it happened for you around the full moon too, right? Felt like that energy was the zap that I really, really needed. Now, when we move into present energy, we've got the Two of Swords. And I generally don't like this card very much because you know, the standard depiction has a woman sat on a bench and she's got a blindfold over her eyes and she's got two swords crossed over her heart. She has her back to the sea, she has her back to the moon. And the fact that she's got that blindfold on and she's kind of in this act of trying to make a decision about something, it says to me that this is somebody who is actively ignoring emotional input that could be, you know, critical in making this decision. She's also ignoring, to an extent, her intuition. But it feels slightly different here for me with this card here, because we've got these two very hard places, and perhaps you are stuck between a rock and a hard place at the moment. That's possible. But we have these trees and they're kind of reaching for each other. It feels like you're about to make a leap in some way, Leo. That's how it feels to me, because we've got this kind of yawning chasm, and maybe this is your intention and the things that you want to achieve this year, and this is your absolute fucking lack of motivation to make it happen, right? They're starting to build this bridge between the two of them, so actually you can access energy to be able to do these things that you want to do. I think, you know, if your experience has been anything like mine through January, you're like, well, 2021, so I was maybe just going to go shit, really. I was basically going to sit around and watch YouTube and you know, if I can do all sorts of things. Obviously that's not all I do, but there was a kind of like a bit of a sag just felt like I was kind of sagging in the middle a little bit. This is that connection starting to be formed. It's starting to come back. I think that you can expect from here your energy really to start improving and increasing. Maybe not exponentially, but certainly quite quickly from this point on, because you took the decision to sort things out. You became aware of the way that you had kind of fallen into these slightly sloppy habits over the course of a month. And let's not forget, it really doesn't take very long to form new habits. It's like, God, what is it, like 3 weeks? Something like that. So for it to have been a month, catch yourself being like that, just like, whoa, okay, right, things need to change now. And you have done that, and that was important, right? I don't ever feel like these things happen, you know, for no reason. Like, there's always a lesson in something everywhere. And this lesson here was that you can pick yourself out of you know, some sort of sagging experience, some sort of malaise, and really change everything around, right? Just with the force of your will, right? You're the fucking sun. Right? This is what you can do. Whoa. Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely. So, interestingly, it may seem from these cards being here, we've got the Ace of Swords. Notice how all these energies are working in tandem. The sword is the thing that the Queen of Swords is wielding all of the time. Wielding, sorry. We have that Tower energy again, but then we have this card here, this creation of a foundation. It is sometimes the card of home as well, but it feels like the realization that you kind of let things slide for a little bit is actually where you find the fuel for your fire to do something new. It feels like you're about to enter quite a creative phase, interestingly enough, because what we have here is the Page of Wands and the Magician. Like this combination. It's almost like you needed a short, sharp shock of doing things differently. You know, which is to say, kind of in a way that was not much fun at all. Yeah, like we've got the Hanged Man underneath there, literally suspended, kind of waiting for, I feel like I was waiting for something to happen, but I don't know what it was. I was waiting for some sort of big planetary global event to occur, you know, some sort of fucking, some sort of 2020-esque thing to occur that didn't occur, you know. Maybe you've been sitting around waiting for things to happen, and what you did in that moment was you abdicated your power to achieve and effect change because you weren't doing it yourself. Really, actually quite a profound lesson for you here, Leo. But we've got this Page of Wands. We have now this beginning of an increase in energy being, you know, indicated here. But there's also a bit of there's a bit of creative restlessness here. There are ideas starting to form. There is new inspiration starting to come, but there is also a desire for movement in some way. Like everything's just got a little bit fucking stagnant. And while we were sitting around waiting for things to change, we failed to notice that we weren't doing the change. This is the important thing. We need to do the change. Because we are the magician, right? We have all the tools that we need, literally everything that you could possibly need. All of the elements are here. And here's the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups again. And it's almost like the Queen of Swords is kind of lecturing the Queen of Cups here. You see how the Queen of Cups is staring at her cup and like kind of waiting for something interesting to happen with this ugly, ugly ass cup. Like, look at it with its crab nipper things on it. It cannot come up with something beautiful instead. And she's like, Howe, what are you doing? Like, we've got things to do here, right? Pay attention to the fact that you are powerful. Pay attention to the fact that you can do anything that you fucking want, and the only ways in which you are restricted are the limits of your own imagination here, right? Pay attention. What do you want to achieve? I feel like this is the kind of conversation that is starting to occur, you know, with yourself at the moment. Like, what do I actually want to do this year? What do I actually want to achieve this year? Do I know? Kind of started the year on a bit of a damp squib. Do not let that define your experience of 2021 moving forwards, because let us not forget that you have something very, very important to do, Leo. We're not quite sure what it is yet, but we're certainly starting to see, perceive the scale of it. right? I'm talking in you know, terms of spirituality and leadership and all of these sorts of things, right? The stuff that we've been talking about for weeks and, well, months actually. Months and months. And if you've seen the 2021 overview for the first 6 months, you'll know that that formed a really large part of what was going on here. But yeah, like we've got the 10 of Cups here at the bottom of the deck. We've also got the 8 of Wands, and we've got the Queen of Wands too, right? Stop sitting around and waiting for things to happen. You want to be happy. You want to make things happen. You want to achieve emotional fulfillment. Then you have to go out and get it. You have to action it to yourself. It's not coming to you, and neither should it, right? Because it's never going to come to you the way that you want it to, unless you are really putting the force of your Leonine will behind this. Now, in terms of what we've got coming towards you in February, we have the 6 of Cups, which is interesting because it's a card that talks about the past in a number of different respects, right? It can talk about just the past as a thing. It can talk about your childhood. It can talk about sometimes actually past lives. But it also talks about children. So what is this all about? Well, we've got the 6 of Wands underneath that card that talks about victory and success. And notice that there are also children on here too, which is an interesting carry along. And then we have this Queen of Swords. Now, this is quite an interesting situation. Remember that I said something, I muttered something about Mercury retrograde at the beginning of this video. Interestingly enough, last year, every single Mercury retrograde, I really felt like I needed to flag it up to the collective, like be aware that this is happening, this is really important, you know, this kind of thing. This one, actually, I actually had to Google when it was a couple of days ago, because I was like, I'm sure there's going to be a retrograde around about now, and it was like, yeah, it's January the 30th, and I was like, well, shit. Actually, the day before the Mercury stationed properly ready to go retrograde, I had a massive power outage. I happened to be in a personal reading at the time, a live one, and I had videos that were trying to upload and all that sort of thing. I totally cocked up, and I was like, oh god, I do hope this is not going to characterize my experience of the retrograde this year with just all the technology fucking up, because, you know, that is kind of a thing that happens during this time. And then I was like, oh, it's happening in Aquarius, which is all about, you know, technology and future things amongst other stuff. So I was like, actually, maybe it will do exactly that. Anyway, the point is, 2020 was a year where that retrograde energy came in and made you look at things. It made you look at things from the past that actually you'd not been still enough to notice for quite a long time. As I'm saying that, I'm actually aware that for you, that was a little less of an issue, because we had done that work. We'd done a lot of that work on the build up to 2020. It was for everybody else that was kind of huge emotional fallout. This year, all of the retrograde energy is occurring in the air signs. So we've got Aquarius, and then we'll have Gemini, and then we'll have Libra. But what the retrograde can do is sometimes bring people or old situations from the past up for us to have another look at, right? To close out in some way or another, because ultimately closure only ever comes effectively from us. It's when we've gone, right, okay, I'm good with this situation, I've processed it, I'm releasing it, I'm moving away from it now. Where there are situations where we haven't done that to, you know, our fullest capacity, then sometimes they reappear. And yours is the only reading that I've done where the retrograde actually in that sense has come up, or that I've mentioned it at all actually, has come up as something for consideration. So it seems to me like this is a resurrection of something. The fact that we have it here with the 6 of Wands and the Queen of Swords, it feels to me like it's coming in at exactly the right time, right? You've given yourself a mental kick up the arse, and maybe just 2 weeks ago, should this situation have arisen, you may have dealt with it very, very differently than you are going to now, because you've got your mental spark back a little bit, Leo. Tell me about the 6 of Cups. What's this about? Goodness. Okay. Well, I think, at least for some of us, there is going to be the return of some people from the past. I have Scorpio here indicated, and I also have Aquarius, because we have the King of Cups and we have the King of Swords. We have the Moon that has also arisen with it. That's the card of Cancer. And we have the Lovers at the bottom of the deck, right? Not the first time that this has appeared. In fact, note that we have the Queen of Swords and the Lovers here, and then we also have the Queen of Swords and the Lovers here. This feels pertinent to me. Underneath that, we have the Chariot, another card of Cancer. This looks like a revisitation of an old situation. This may come by way of somebody returning, possibly a Scorpio, possibly an Aquarius, possibly a Cancer, possibly a Gemini, actually. Or it may be a revisiting in so much as you find yourself kind of thinking about a situation from the past that you have not really thought about in quite a long time. Perhaps it is, you know, an old relationship, that's possible. Perhaps it's an old friend, you know, it's someone, it feels like that there has been, you know, a passage of time elapsed since you've seen them last. And maybe, you know, maybe this is somebody from the 2017, 2018 period, you know, when you were in a really bad place, when you were really, really down, you know, who came along and, you know, events happened, whatever those events were. And then you moved on from it because that's what fucking life was like there, you know. And then we had 2019 where things started to improve somewhat, and then we had 2020 and well shit, nobody really knew which way it was up in 2020. Feels like it's coming back because the moon is the things that are hidden, right? It is a re-examination of old situations, either by, you know, the physical presence of someone that you've not seen for a long time, or your mind just wandering to it. Tell me about this King of Cups and King of Swords, please. We have the Hermit, so we have more internal examination of your space, for sure, potentially a Virgo. And we've got the Six of Swords in reverse, right? Six of Swords is leaving behind a situation. Six of Swords in reverse is about a situation coming back, or a person coming back, or you revisiting something here. Right? Now, with the Six of Wands and the Nine of Swords appearing here, I think this is tremendous energy, right? Whatever this is, whoever this is, whatever way in which it comes up for you, it feels like a clarification energy. It feels like something that's really quite important because it's a mental revisiting. Possibly for somebody who was, you know, very important to you, possibly somebody who was a good intellectual match for you in some ways, because we've got the King and the Queen of Swords here, with that King possibly indicating, you know, a level of emotional attachment. Idly shuffling the deck, and here is the Eight of Cups at the bottom of the deck, and followed then by the Ace of Wands, right? This is an opportunity to actually, it feels like an opportunity to really power up this spark, this ass kicking that the full moon gave us, or that the Queen of Swords gave us here, right? It's powering it up with Leo energy now, rather than, you know, an intellectual appreciation of something. It does not look like the beginning of something new with this person. Remember, people that come back in the retrograde rarely stay, right? That's not the purpose of their appearance during that time, right? It's about addressing the situation, right? Tell me about the Six of Swords, Six of Wands, sorry. We've got the Queen of Wands and the Ten of Cups. Ooh. Tell me about the Queen of Swords. We've got the Hermit, again, Virgo energy. And then what are you? Empress and the Page of Swords. Wow. Okay. Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. You are not aware that you have still got some sort of energetic attachment to this situation, or maybe you are. Maybe you do know that. You know, it's got an unfinished business feeling about it here. You know, we've got also the Seven of Wands, and we have the Nine of Pentacles. And as I'm looking at this, I do feel like there is unfinished business here. I think that you know that there is unfinished business, and I feel like this person knows that there is unfinished business here. But I wonder how many of you... Oh, fuck off, is it snowing? Really? Okay. Some of you have kind of idly contemplated how you would feel when this person comes back, because I'm not sure that you quite understand your feelings towards this person. And it's defensive. It feels like it's defensive to me. A bit like, oh shit, you know, like if you've just rounded an aisle in the supermarket and you just bumped into this person, like it feels a little bit like panic would be your very first response. Not because, you know, this person is awful or anything like that, but because your feelings towards them never really got the closure that you wanted. And let's just pin that there for a second. But also because you don't really know how you feel about the situation, right? It could be that you've done a lot of work on yourself since then, and you've, you know, employed a level of grace and a level of forgiveness and compassion to yourself moving forwards, you know, and you've done a lot of the heavy lifting on this situation. But what remains is kind of like the vestiges of the what if, or the yearning for the closure, and let's bring the pin back. Like, what does closure look like to you? Realistically, I mean, it's something that a lot of people talk about, and it's something that they say that they want, but often they externalize that closure, right? What they're doing is they're kind of saying, I can't close out this subject for myself unless I get this person coming and apologizing to me, or this person really acknowledging that I was important to them at some point, you know, all of these kind of things. The only closure that you can really ever effect is the choosing to close it out for yourself, because it doesn't fucking matter what they do or what they don't do, what they say, what they don't say, how they felt and how they didn't feel, because ultimately they treated you in the way that they treated you. And this is something that you have to remember. You know, when somebody shows you who they are by their behavior, believe them. It's the purest expression of the thing, and it doesn't matter if it's complicated with things like, you know, their own emotional trauma that they had to deal with, and they didn't really mean to hurt you, and yes, you meant a lot to them. Like, what value does that actually bring to your life? None. When you really think about it, none, right? When you truly close this out for yourself, it doesn't matter anymore what the details of the situation are. It doesn't matter what their intentions were. It doesn't matter about what they were thinking. Right? You've done your work, you've moved on. This feels like an opportunity to deal with those last vestiges for you, because with the Six of Wands and then the Queen of Wands and the Ten of Cups underneath here, this feels like you actually kind of realizing, maybe this is the other aspect of it as well. Like, how much time have you spent in active contemplation? And I say active advisedly because we've got this Hermit card here twice, plus the Moon. In truly appreciating how far you have come from when everything was really shit, right? And if you're one of the Leos who was affected by that eclipse cycle that really broke us, ground us down into nothing, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, right? How far have you come? Right? Fucking leagues, like just leagues and leagues and leagues. You are unrecognizable now to who you were those few years ago, and almost unrecognizable to yourself at times, except that a lot of it has been feeling like coming home to you, ultimately, to who you were always supposed to be, rather than, you know, what you've kind of been for the rest of your life up until this huge life-changing period of your life occurred. This feels like an appreciation of where you are and how much better things are, how much more content you are, how much everything is better, you know? Now this Queen of Swords energy is really interesting because she is, again, employing the rational, the reasonable, the logical to this situation, right? Notice that the Cups cards here are pointing towards where you are now, how much better everything is now. There's a detachment from the emotions of this person from the past that probably has occurred quite slowly in the grand scheme of things, so much so that you're not actually aware that it's happened. It's almost like the processing's been going on underneath to a degree, right? But you've never really brought it up into the consciousness, probably because it really hurt. Right? That's almost certain to be the case. But also because when you kind of wander that way with your conscious mind, it wakes up those feelings again, and that's hard because they're not there anymore. So we just kind of gently step away from that, you know, just pad backwards from it. This is forcing you to look at them. Right? It's forcing you to look at them properly, but you're looking at them with the eye of the Queen of Swords, not with the eye of the Queen of Cups, which would be, you know, really quite self-indulgent. Not self-indulgent, indulgent. Notice again how that Queen of Swords was looking at that Queen of Cups like, fucking stop it, right? Queen of Swords was also over here too. This is coming in at exactly the right time. Your energy is in exactly the right place for you to be able to intellectually appreciate what this is all about. Now, could be Virgo or Taurus energy. We've got that here again. You know. But this is about you going within with a sharp eye, with a sharp mind, right? It's not about cutting out emotions and booting them away, because I don't think that that's actually quite, I don't really think that's very sensible. But looking at them, no, you're bright, looking at them objectively, okay, and seeing them for what they are. And appreciating how far you've come, because truly, actually you're rocking Empress energy, particularly right now as well. Maybe not like 2 weeks ago, but right now you are. I love how these things will kind of weave together, you know. The Empress is the Queen of Queens. Notice that we had all of these queens come out here. The only queen that was missing was the Queen of Pentacles. She's the queen who is in charge of nurturing oneself and taking care of oneself, you know, all those aspects of things. But she is implied in her presence here in the Empress, right? Just as you realized you were not really attending to yourself, you were not taking care of yourself recently, right? Her presence is implied by here, by the Empress. Like, you have leveled up so far beyond what this situation was here, that now it's not nearly as it's not nearly as complicated as you fear it might be. You know, you see it for what it is. We've got that Page of Swords and he's looking back here, right? But his body language is like, I'm going this way, right? Here's my Ace of Swords, it's held up. I'm taking one last look back at this. I am clarifying this situation in my own mind so that I can release it and let it go. It's not about, you know, reigniting anything here, because I feel like when this person is in front of you and that initial like shit kind of energy has subsided, I think that the clarity that you'll get is going to be really, really surprising. You're just like, well, I'm a fucking catch. What are you? Certainly not a catch. I'm good. Thank you. You know, it's that real prosperous energy, right? Abundant energy. I'm not talking about necessarily financial, although that may well be dramatically improved from a few years ago. It's everything else. It's everything about you. You are abundant in a myriad of ways, Leo, and you're grateful for every single one of them. But your gratitude can only increase when you truly perceive the difference from where you were when this person was around to where you are now, right? It's almost like a look. It just increases the gratitude 100-fold. It's beautiful. I love it for you. So I'm going to leave it there. If this has resonated with you at all, please do feel free to join me over at Vimeo. If not, no shade. I completely understand. It's all fine. But yeah, like, you're going to ride this one out, Leo. Like, fucking hell. You've dealt with worse than this. And it doesn't actually even feel like a bad situation at all. It's kind of a surprising situation. But you know, one that is presented to you at exactly the right time. This is the thing, right? Since this person was last in your life, in any respect whatsoever, and I do feel like it was around that 2017, 2018 kind of period that we're talking about here. All the changes in your material world, in your internal space, your mental space, your spiritual space, all of these are the result of your individual actions and decisions. And I feel like they have treated you well as a result, you know. This is showing you how, not only how far you've come, but how wise the decisions are that you have made alone, right? You might be with a partner, possibly, you might not, like, whichever way it goes. It's like you took control of your life when everything seemed at its most black, at its most desperate, all of those things. Like, you rebuilt yourself, and then you started taking control of things over and over and over again. It's a beautiful illustration of just how powerful you are. You've turned your life around, and I think often you forget to give yourself credit for that, right? There's an intellectual appreciation that things were a bit shit a few years ago, but now, like, things are better. But, like, really feel this energy, really sit with this energy, because it feels really, really powerful for you. Right, I'm actually going to go this time. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.